sunset, moonrise, and see how the land is bathed in silver hue. You feel so lonely. Come with me and let me show there are others just like you.
Merry meet everyone, this is Natalie and I am filling in this week for Which is the Moon. We are doing catch-up videos for season 1 and this video is on advice to new witches. This video will probably be kind of brief. I am, in terms of formal practice, relatively new to the path myself, so this is going to be a little bit of a personal topic for me. When you are new to the path, it can be very overwhelming. There are so many conflicting opinions about what is a good resource, what is a bad resource, what should you do. Should you begin practicing spells right away, casting right away, or should you wait until you know what you're doing? Should you cast a circle? Do you not cast a circle? What is the purpose of a circle? You know, it can be very overwhelming, the amount of information that you receive. So I'm going to go through just a few bullet points that I found useful when I began on this path. Now, I was very fortunate that I actually began on a path to witchcraft when I was about 12 years old. But due to, I would say, staunch family constraints and life choices, I stayed away from the path for many, many years. My mother absolutely would hear nothing of it. I had a deck of tarot cards and I was getting very interested in learning more about casting and that sort of thing, and my mother, who is Church of Christ, put a very quick end to that right away, and I was not allowed to have any books or do any reading or any research, or, you know, she got rid of the tarot cards that had been gifted to me by a fortune teller. I've still never really gotten over that. I was very upset because, you know, yeah, it was her house. I was a minor, but it wasn't her right to take something that belonged to me and destroy it. So that bothered me. Then when I got married, my husband was raised Catholic, and in the Catholic faith, you have to be married in the Catholic Church or your marriage is not considered valid. And so it was very important to my mother-in-law that we be married in the Catholic Church. And I was very drawn to the Catholic Church, more so than I was to the church that I was raised in. But I realize now that the reason I was so drawn to the Catholic Church was because they absorbed a lot of the paganistic practices and beliefs. Even their liturgical year follows the wheel of the year. So I found that very, very interesting. Sorry about that. The camera moved a little bit. So what would I recommend to someone who is new to the path? I would say research. Research, research, research. Ask a lot of questions. I was, again, very fortunate that in my path, I have my cousin, Sunshine Morning Ray, who was a wealth of information about sources because I really didn't know where to begin. And I do think that the first few things that you read are very formative to you when you're new to the path. They can heavily influence which direction your path takes. So I would recommend being very open-minded and reading a variety of sources without too much emphasis on what other people say about these sources. So for example, two of the books that Sunshine recommended to me were Buckland's Big Blue, which is the Complete Book of Witchcraft by Dr. Raymond Buckland, and it is brilliant. And I'll tell you why I think it's brilliant, because he covers the entire scope of practice from history of witchcraft all the way through to casting spells, pranic healing. I mean, the man covers a lot in that book. And he has lessons, so you can actually put what you're learning into practice right away. And I found that very helpful to me because I think when you're new to the path, you're very skeptical about trying spells or trying your practice out. But if you're not practicing, you're not really growing. And I do believe that very heavily. I don't think that, you know, you have a requirement to practice or cast spells every single day, although I find I do. And it doesn't necessarily mean that I cast a full circle every single time I do it. A spell could be something as simple as a small prayer that you utter to the god or goddess or both, or to the universe in general. You're putting your energy out there. Anytime you're putting your energy out there with a request for something in return, you are casting. There's a lot of debate about whether it is necessary to cast a circle. I think when you're new to the path, every protection you can take for yourself is good, because you are dealing with forces within the universe that are sometimes hostile, and it's always helpful to have whatever protections you can put into place. So a few things that I would recommend. Llewellyn's is an excellent publisher for books on this path, and they cover a lot of different styles within the path. Buckland's Big Blue was an excellent resource. Raven Grimassi's The Witch's Craft was also an excellent resource that I would highly recommend. I didn't necessarily agree with everything I read in there, because he takes it from the slant that witchcraft is purely an Italian thing and that everybody else branched off from that. I don't necessarily agree with that, because I know for a fact that the Celts were practicing witchcraft in some manner before or at the same time as the Italians in Europe. So I don't necessarily agree with everything that he has to say, but he does give you some down and dirty good stuff for casting and practicing, and he encourages practice from the beginning. So that's one of the things I really liked about that book. Another good source, I know there's a lot of debate on Silver Ravenwolf. I've never actually read any of her books, so I don't know. There are people who love her, there are people who hate her, and I have never seen anybody lukewarm on her. So although I have never read any of her stuff, I find that there are a lot of people who are very comfortable with her style of writing from the beginning, and so she may be a good resource. So another source that I would strongly recommend is looking into correspondences, because you do need a good grasp of correspondences and what goes for what when you are casting. Because when you are casting a spell, your correspondences, your intention, and your energy are vital. You need visualization, intent, and correspondences for everything that you do. And the correspondences are so vast, it would take you, we could do a video every single day on correspondences for the next probably 10 years and never cover everything that corresponds. And not all correspondences work for every person, but if you have a good basic understanding of those correspondences, then that would be a good place to start. If you are wanting to research some of those fairly easily, you could try the website Wikipedia. It's excellent, has a great list of resources. In fact, for my Book of Shadows, I actually just printed them off onto parchment paper and put them in my Book of Shadows, because the list was so comprehensive. There's no way I could have hand copied every single one of them from now until doomsday. Also, Llewellyn's has a great book, Llewellyn's Complete Book of Correspondences. I don't have a copy of that book, but I'm dying to get my hands on it. I know Erin has it. She's spoken very highly about it. Other people who have it have spoken very highly about it, and it's excellent. Any of Scott Cunningham's books are excellent. If you're into learning about herbs and herbology, he is fantastic. He has numerous books, and I can recommend all of them. If you are interested in specifically in the path of Wicca, for one, if you're solitary, is very good. Raymond Buckland's Wicca, Witchcraft from the Inside is very good. He also has Wicca for the Solitary Practitioner. That's pretty good. I took a lot from those books, even though I am not Wiccan. I did take a lot from those in terms of how to increase my spiritual practice. So research. That would be the first thing I would recommend to anyone new to this path. Read everything you can get your hands on, absorb it like a little sponge, make notes, and begin practicing as soon as you are comfortable with it. And you're going to have to start at some point. You can't be a witch and not practice. You can't be a witch and not cast spells. That's part of this practice, and that's part of this path. So the sooner you can get that relationship going, the better off you are going to be. So plunge into it, but please, please, please do your protections. Whether that be casting a circle or any other protection measure that you find. I believe it's Christopher Penzick has an excellent book on protection. So that would be another one to look into that you might want to make one of your first books. I haven't read it yet either, but I'm dying to get my hands on that one too. There's been a moratorium in my household on buying anything at all. Anything new. I'm not allowed to spend money right now. My business has dipped a little bit due to the new healthcare law, and we're desperately trying to get our referrals up. hired a new assistant, but in order to be able to pay her, that means I can't buy anything new. So new books for me. But I would desperately love to get my hands on a couple of those, and as soon as I can scrounge together a few bucks from somewhere, I'm going to head to the used bookstore and see if I can't find them, because I find a lot of these books you can pick up at half-price books. They don't keep an inventory, so you have to just kind of go in and see what they've got this week. Their stock changes from week to week. Check it out. But they do a lot, and you can get them at a pretty decent price. The next thing I would recommend to someone new to this path is learn how to meditate. And I know that sounds simple, and a lot of people think meditation is simple and easy, and you just sit down, you close your eyes, and you om for a bit, and you're there. No. It is far more intensive than that. I mean, you need to really learn how to get into a deep state of meditation, and that takes time and practice and doing. So set aside 10 to 15 minutes a day minimum if you can. If you can set aside an hour a day, I would strongly recommend that. Learning to meditate is going to be your channel to connecting with the spirit world, and it is vitally important to your path. I would strongly recommend that you YouTube a few things. There are several guided meditations on YouTube for those of you that don't know what to do or can't seem to clear your mind. You can use a guided meditation. Helen Demetriou has a really neat guided chakra cleansing meditation that I enjoy. The Honest Guys have several guided visualizations or meditations, as they call them. They also offer just hours of music, and they have a good Om chant meditation for those that are a little higher on the meditation scale that are absolutely fantastic. They're free, and they will definitely help you. There are guided meditations for connecting with your spirit guide. Excuse me. Guided meditations for healing and cleansing. Guided meditations for connecting with spirit animals. So you can find what you're looking for if you Google it. And you may not like every single one of them. So just try out a few and see what you can find. But research and meditation are going to be the two best things that I can, research, meditation, and practice are going to be the three things that I would recommend to anyone new to the path. Begin with the research and the meditation. Move on to the practice. But move on to your practice fairly quickly. Don't delay in allowing yourself that experience. And don't expect your practice to be highly successful right off the bat either, because you are still new. If you don't have the proper frame of mind and you don't have the proper visualization, you cannot expect your spell work to be effective. Watching videos such as these, watching Witches of the Moon, watching The Pagan Perspective and a few other channels, find things that you feel you connect with and learn from those. Make notes. Begin your Book of Shadows by taking notes about what you're learning. That's the best thing that I can recommend. I hope that this video is helpful to you. I understand that the journey is long, arduous, and difficult, but nothing worthwhile ever comes easy. So research, meditation, practice, 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 and more research. And I hope that you all have a wonderful, wonderful summer solstice coming up next week. And I hope that you have a blessed life. Blessed be.